And for an electrician from Gdansk, it was the end of a journey that began when he climbed over a wall of the Lenin shipyards to lead a strike that became solidarity. In the Baltic countries of Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania, a human chain comprised of 1/4 the population joined hands across their lands and helped break the chains that held their nations captive. Tens of thousands gathered at Heroes Square in Budapest to witness the reburial of Imre Nagy, a hero of the 1956 revolution. And later that summer, Hungary's communist leaders opened the border to refugees seeking freedom, and in the morning darkness of September 11th, allowed a vast army of East German automobiles to surge across the Hungarian frontier into Austria. The small cars filled with vacationers didn't have much in common with the armored battalions of the Warsaw Pact that had menaced generations of Western military planners. But their impact on history was as dramatic as any invasion. There was little use in a wall that you could walk around. So in capitals across the region, refugees from the East found sanctuary in the embassies of West Germany. And when a dying government tried to end the exodus of its people by allowing a handful of them free passage to the West in a sealed train, the sight spawned an outcry for change. East Germans took to the streets of Leipzig in peaceful protests that affirmed "Wir sind das Volk," or "We are the people," which became "We are one people" after the events of November 9th. Then only 8 days after the destruction of the wall, we watched students in Prague march and begin what became the Velvet Revolution that would bring Havel, a playwright, to the presidency. For a nation that had grasped for liberty in the spring of 1968, the transition to democracy couldn't come quickly enough. There were many authors of the changes we witnessed in 1989. Some acted knowingly, like the Polish Pope, who resurrected a gospel of liberty. Others, like President Gorbachev, sought a break from a darker past, but in doing so, helped to break down the wall. But again, I say, these events were not inevitable. In January of 1989, East Germany's communist leaders predicted that the wall would still be standing in 50 or even 100 years. History could have gone another way, and in some parts of the world, it did and it has. So where do we stand now? As we commemorate that moment when history pierced concrete and concertina wire, we remember the troops who faced down war and kept the peace, the dissidents and activists who risked all they had to demand a free and better life, the millions of mothers and fathers, workers and students who never lost faith that a system built on tyranny and oppression could and would be overcome. So we remember every citizen of every nation who helped preserve the world with the gift that we accept today. But that gift came with strings, as gifts often do. It came with the responsibility to advance the principles that were vindicated in this city 20 years ago. When the wall came down, we could not know what the people of Europe would build in its place, and the Atlantic community confronted a cavalcade of crises and a crisis of confidence. I well remember following from afar the debates over reunification, the costs, how it could be possibly accomplished. How would one ever integrate the industries, the militaries, the mindsets of peoples who had been divided by that wall. And the Euro-Atlantic coalition struggled to find policies worthy of the sacrifices made by the people of Central and Eastern Europe and to help them build democracies on the rubble of a ruined system. Now, ultimately and together, we achieved successes that would have been unthinkable on this night 20 years ago. And as we welcomed the historic nations of Central Europe into NATO and saw them become members of the European Union, the landscape of this continent was transformed. But our history did not end the night the wall came down. It began anew. And this matters not only to tens of millions of Europeans and to the United States, but to people everywhere. How do we take this gift of freedom, this alliance of values, this commitment for a better future, and put it to work to meet the challenges of freedom today? The new nations of a united Europe are our partners, standing with us in Afghanistan, patrolling waters against pirates, working to combat poverty, helping to prevent terrorism, promoting our common values. Today, our battles may be different, and our nations remain imperfect vessels of democracy, but our objectives have not changed, and our work has certainly not ended. So we should look to the examples of the generations who brought us successfully through the 20th century, and once again, together, chart a clear and common course to safeguard our people and our planet, defeat violent extremists, and prevent nuclear proliferation. Come together to cut carbon emissions and address climate change, increase our energy security, an issue of special importance in this region that carries ramifications for the future of Europe and the world. To expand freedom to more people, we cannot accept that freedom does not belong to all people. We cannot allow oppression defined and justified by religion or tribe to replace that of ideology. We have a responsibility to address conditions everywhere that undermine the potential of boys and girls and men and women, that sap human dignity and threaten global progress. European countries have been leaders in addressing the economic and social development challenges of the world. We need to continue our work on an economic recovery, and we need to continue to promote democracy and human rights beyond freedom's current frontiers, so that citizens everywhere are afforded the opportunity to pursue their dreams and live up to their own God-given potential. When Chancellor Merkel came to Washington last week, she spoke eloquently about the walls of the last century and the less visible but equally daunting walls we face today. These are walls between the present and the future, walls between modernity and nihilistic attitudes, walls that divide our common heart, that deny progress and opportunity to the many who yearn for both. As one who came of age amid the barriers of oppression, Chancellor knows of what she speaks. But tomorrow, when she walks through the Brandenburg Gate, she will do so as a free daughter of Brandenburg and the leader of an emancipated people. That moment should be a call to action, not just a commemoration of past actions. That call should spur us to continue our cooperation and to look for new ways that we can meet the challenges that freedom faces now.